What's up everyone, it's your FPL Thinking Cap Benji back with another episode of Best FPL Captain. Last game week we went with the punt for Palmer, but it didn't pay out. He only got 1 bonus point. Can we bounce back in game week 11? Let's find out. Thinking Cap activated. As per usual, let's review last game week's rankings, and we got a couple things right and a couple things wrong. Palmer did underperform in game week 10. Salah was the best captain on last week's shortlist. The positive thing about the rankings is that we had Palmer and Salah above Haaland, who only got 2 points. That just shows us we are on the right track. Let's keep moving, and we're going to move swiftly into the game week 11 shortlist now. Both Man City premiums, Haaland and Foden, are in as they travel away to Brighton on Saturday. Salah also plays on the same day, but he's facing Aston Villa at home in the late kickoff at 8 PM UK. Son Heung-min is the final option. He's got a very tasty fixture in Ipswich at home. Sonny is also the only Sunday captaincy option this weekend. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at rest and recovery, as well as the expected minutes for these players. Both Haaland and Foden played the full 90 minutes in the Champions League on Tuesday. They did travel to Portugal for that match. So even though Foden, Haaland and Salah have the same number of rest days, I would say that Salah has had higher quality recovery. Foden did score against Sporting. He looked pretty sharp, but Haaland blanked another game and he also missed a penalty in that match. I am recording this video before Spurs play Galatasaray on Thursday, so I'm not too sure if Son's going to start or if he's going to be benched. But either way, he has traveled to Turkey. The Ipswich fixture is just 3 days after the Europa League game, which is why Son has the joint lowest expected minutes with Foden. Both of them are on 75. Haaland's X minutes are the strongest this game week, obviously because City don't really have any other effective options in that number 9 position. And with the form that City have been in, I highly doubt Pep is going to rotate Erling out of the team. Mo Salah has the second strongest minutes projections with 87 expected. Analyzing the defenses that these premiums are playing in game week 11, and it's just obvious that Ipswich Town are the most targetable fixture. They've let in 2.1 goals per game so far, and their XGC suggests that they should have conceded a few more on top of those goals. Out of all 3 teams, Ipswich have faced the most shots on target per game, and when we look at matchups, their defense has conceded the highest number of chances down the left zone, which is where Son's going to play. Brighton seems like the next best fixture to target, averaging 1.4 goals conceded so far. In terms of matchups, Brighton have defended really well in central areas, only conceding 20 chances centrally, but I will say that Lewis Dunk's injury severely impacts Brighton's defense. For me, this definitely elevates both Haaland and Foden as captaincy options this weekend. It also looks like Salah might be playing the highest quality defense in game week 11, but I'd probably stop you right there if that's how you're thinking, because Aston Villa are averaging 1.5 goals conceded per game this season. That's only 0.1 higher than Brighton. And I'd also like to add on that Villa have no wins from their last 4 in all competitions, considering that they've also conceded the most chances down their right-hand zone. I think this could be a really great fixture for Mohamed Salah. So how have these players performed in their upcoming fixture previously? Let's begin with Sonny. He's never faced Ipswich Town in his career, but I've compiled all of his Premier League starts against promoted teams at home, and in 20 starts, he's returned 18 GA, which is pretty decent. Son's points average against promoted sides at home is 7.5. That's the second highest points average in this category. But last season, he blanked twice against promoted teams at home. His only return was a goal versus Luton, where he put up 10 points. Salah has never blanked against Villa at home in his Premier League career. Mo's in excellent form right now, and this could be the first time he holds double digits against them at Anfield. Moving on to Haaland, it's 1 assist, 5 points from 1 start away to Brighton. Haaland's also never blanked against Brighton in the Premier League. He's returned in all 3 starts against them. And last, but certainly not least, it's actually Foden who has the strongest historical record against his Game Week 11 opponent. 6 goals plus 1 assist in 4 away starts to Brighton. Foden's averaging 13.3 points in this fixture. and I'm quite comfortable in saying that Brighton away is probably Foden's most preferred fixture in the Prem. Now, we're into my favorite part of the video, which is where we analyze the kickoff data. We're looking at the game day comparison first, and it's no shock to see the FPL king with the best game day stats. Salah's averaging 1 GA per start in Saturday home matches. That's the best return rate on the shortlist. He also looks like the most reliable captain for one return this weekend, with Salah's blank rate at 28%. There's decent potential for explosivity as well. Salah has the second highest double-digit haul rate behind Son Heung-min, and Sonny has a rather mixed data set. His double-digit haul rate obviously suggests that he can provide those explosive hauls on Sunday, but he's blanked in 43% of starts, which it makes him a much riskier captaincy choice. Foden has the least appealing set of data. He sits last in all game day categories, and his blank rate is over 50%, which is just a mega fat red flag. Teammate Erling Haaland, though, he shows a little bit more promise in the Saturday away matches. He's got the second strongest return rate, but there are some concerns as Haaland's points average ranks third out of all four, which is pretty low for him. And based on this, I think Salah seems the most reliable for one return. Even though Son's blank rate is above 40%, he's only blanked once in the last 5, and he's showing pretty strong signs of explosive potential in the Sunday home matches. Moving into the game time comparison, and Haaland looks to have the strongest bias towards his Game Week 11 game time. In 5:30 p.m. games away from home, he's returned 10 or more points in 50% of starts. So basically, in 5:30 p.m. games away from home, you've got a 50% chance that he calls double digits. He's also never blanked a 5:30 p.m. away match in the Premier League, which is a massive positive if you're looking at a Haaland cap. Salah also has some strong bias towards his upcoming kickoff time. His points average in 8 p.m. home starts, it ranks second behind Haaland. Salah's got the second best form too, and do not sleep on his explosive potential in this kickoff time because Mo has hauled 10 or more points in almost 40% of starts. This is also where Son's captaincy appeal begins to regress, as his data set for 2 p.m. home games, it's not really that encouraging. He offers the lowest explosive potential, and his blank rate is joint highest with Foden. Phil's form is slightly more encouraging. He's put up 2 hauls in his last 5 starts away at 5:30, but Salah and Erling look like the better options so far. Let's conduct the risk assessment, and the riskiest place to put your armband in Game Week 11 is on Son. He's the lowest owned premium on the shortlist, and with the expected minutes concerns, with the travel time, I think he's a very high risk cap. Obviously, he's offering the most explosive potential, the most potential for gain, 99% gain factor. He's an extremely explosive asset. He's been super good at home this season, only 1 blank, and that was against Arsenal. And he's also got the best fixture on paper, and that's why I think he can gain you the most rank if he hauls. Haaland is the safest captain, but not by much. Salah is only 5% riskier. Erling's ownership, around 70%, is by far the highest premium EO at the moment, and I expect the vast majority of players to back Haaland in Game Week 11. I think there will be way more people who go against him this game week just because of his recent form, but for sure I expect him to be the most captain player. He's offering decent game potential at 75%. Within the engaged FPL community, I expect Salah to be the most popular cap. I've put his risk percentage really close to Haaland because obviously Salah's in great form, Haaland is in bad form, so therefore there's more trust with Mo and less trust with Haaland. Foden is in a similar boat to Sonny. He has really low ownership. Is the second riskiest captain due to concerns around xMins like Son, but Foden is boasting another massive gain percentage this week at 97%. I think he can gain you a hell of a lot. He had a great individual performance in the Champions League, and with the strong historical bias towards the Brighton away fixture, this could be the week for him to explode. Before we get into my Game Week 11 rankings, you need to know that these rankings could change. Captaincy means we need to access and process the maximum amount of information so that we can make the best, most informed decision. If there is new info which changes my captaincy rankings, could be based on leaks, injuries, press conference news. If we get new info, I'll post the updated version of my rankings on all social platforms before the final deadline, so make sure you're following at least one. If you don't hear anything, then nothing has changed. Links to all of my socials are in the video description. Now let's start with third place in my Game Week 11 rankings, and that goes to Heung-min Son. I want to caveat that I'm going off the assumption that Son gets, I don't know, 20 minutes in Europa and then 75 minutes as we predicted against Ipswich. If you think Son gets more than 75, then in your personal rankings, you should boost his placing a little bit higher, but the X minutes is just a big concern for me. He's also blanked twice last season against promoted teams at home, and his only goal in a home fixture versus a promoted side last season was against Luton. Son scored in the, 84th, 85th minute, so it came pretty late on, and that's why you want your guys on the pitch for the 90 minutes. There's a lot of late goals in the Premier League. And he's also traveled to Turkey. He's just come back from a hamstring injury. It's also just a 3-day turnaround from Galatasaray away to Ipswich at home. And that Turkey flight, I'm pretty sure it is pretty far. So on top of that, his kickoff data just doesn't really point to any obvious player bias towards his Game Week 11 fixture. And for those reasons, he's in the 3rd spot. Now for the wildcard captain, and this is for the guys out there. You guys have crazy high risk appetite. You're looking to chase gains. You're looking to engage in more risk, make riskier decisions to see those fat rank jumps. If that sounds like a little bit of you, then I'd consider captaining Foden this weekend. We already spoke about his historical bias towards that Brighton away fixture. I mean, his record is insane. Definitely one of his most preferred, if not his most preferred fixture in the Prem. There are a couple red flags with Foden, which is why I'm not even putting him in the top 3. Number 1, there's the minutes concern. Number 2, there's the danger of KDB taking some minutes off of him when he comes off from the bench. And number 3, Man City just haven't looked all that great in a situation where, you're looking to captain a player from a team that's not in the best form. I feel like you need that routes to points guarantee of penalties. And without that, Foden captain just feels a little bit suboptimal to me this weekend. But he's going to score at some point this season, and it could be now. This is one of his favorite fixtures, so if you're strapped for options, I would genuinely consider it. Let's move into my best captain for Game Week 11. It is Mo Salah, which, yes, does put Haaland in 2nd place for Game Week 11. Form is a massive factor in captaincy, and with how bad both Man City and Haaland have been in the last couple of weeks, I don't have the trust in Haaland to put him above a Mo Salah who he hasn't traveled, he's in electric form, and he's playing an Aston Villa side that's about to play their 4th away game in a row, and an Aston Villa side that they've won 0 out of the last 4 games in all competitions. So Salah also has very strong expected minutes. He's going to have had the best quality recovery time as he hasn't been traveling, and his kickoff data sets are pretty strong. They indicate that he's a very trustworthy captain in Saturday 8 p.m. home matches. He's offering strong explosive potential, and he just looks to be the most reliable option this weekend, which is why I'm going for him as my best captain. I still think Haaland is a great option, and honestly, he's playing at one of his favorite kickoff times. He has very strong bias, and this kickoff time, he's yet to blank in, right? He's hold 10 plus points in 50% of starts at this time. So I think he's going to be really hungry to bounce back from a bad performance in Champions League. And if you don't own Salah, I do think he is the 2nd best option. I'm also not predicting a massive swing for Salah cappers versus Haaland cappers. I think it'll be closer than expected, so I wouldn't be selling Haaland to get Salah this week. I would just sit on whichever one you got and see how the chips fall, and then reassess after the international break. That is everything I've got for this video. If you did enjoy this one, drop a like, subscribe so you can access all FPL Thinking Cap content every week. And if you want to break down on Isak versus Jackson, you want to know the best strats for the Winter Premier League schedule, and if you want to uncover a fully meta budget defender that millions of managers are overlooking, then you have to check out this banger right here. Peace.